Hello everybody, here on Morrow Hill today, and I'm going to go ahead and do a little video that I've been thinking about doing for a little bit, but I haven't quite decided to do. As you know, we have quite a lot of plants here. We have a high water table here in Southeast Texas, so it makes plants able to grow very well here. And we have a lot of flora here, and I thought I might as well tell you all about some of the flora we have here on Morrow Hill. So we're going to go ahead and get to that right now. Enjoy. Gigi's 4 o'clocks here are looking very nice. They're always wilted, kind of like this. I don't know why this one has not bloomed yet, but they always look like that throughout the night and into the morning and towards the midday. And then they bloom like this here in the evening. The yellow ones are really nice. Purple and yellow. I don't know if there's any other colors. If there's any other color of 4 o'clock. I'm pretty sure there are. I just don't know because G has always had yellow and purple. And she's had these 4 o'clocks, I think, my whole life. They just have not been here. As you can see, there's some still over there. But they've always been over there. And then last year she came and planted some of them along the along the porch line, and every fall you cut them and the plant itself grows back in the spring. So yeah, they look really nice. Some of them just haven't bloomed yet for some reason. They're evening flowers, in case I don't know if I already said that or not, but they're evening flowers. They bloom in the afternoon and they wilt up at night. Almost like there's another tree, another flower plant. We used to have one in my house, but then it died a couple winters ago because they're tropical flowers and they do not do well in cold weather. I think they're called hibiscuses. They're a flower that wilts at night and then blooms during the day in the sunlight. If you're gonna have a hibiscus north of 30 degrees, I think, oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Longitude or latitude? Is longitude, I think it's longitude, east to west, whereas latitude is north to south. But you cannot have hibiscuses basically anywhere north of 25 degrees longitude in the northern hemisphere and south of 25 degrees longitude in the southern hemisphere, because they cannot handle cold weather. We here in Southeast Texas, we're like right at 30 degrees longitude north. But yeah, so if you're gonna have a hibiscus here or anywhere further north, you really need to have them in pots. So you can bring them in your house or put them in like a greenhouse where they can stay safe in the during the winter. For those of you who don't know, this plant right here is called a crepe myrtle. These are really big. It's been here for decades. And this is a summer flower. They bloom in the summertime. They don't bloom in the spring like most flowers do, like these plants right here. And here are wisterias. There was a bigger one, but the plant was a lot bigger, but then it got pushed down the floods, so it had to be chopped off. And it'll grow back throughout the year, and then it'll bloom nice in the spring. But these, unlike wisterias, which bloom in the springtime, and most plants usually that have flowers bloom in like March or April, these crepe myrtles, they bloom in the summer. These are also kind of more of a warmer climate plant. They can handle freezing temperatures, but they just don't do well in too cold of regions. So they can survive here in Texas, even though it will get freezing sometimes in the winter. However, I don't know, they don't really do too well in some climates where it gets too cold. Like, I think they would die if it got below 0. And I mean, I don't know for sure. It's just that they generally just don't do that great in climates that are too cold. They're more of a southern plant. They do better in climates where it doesn't get too cold. They do okay in the heat, in the hot weather, but I mean, they need water, but then again, too cold is not good for them. These are also the 2 crepe myrtles. The one right here. This one, I don't know if you can tell, I don't know why it hasn't quite bloomed yet. It has a lot of buds, but it hasn't quite bloomed yet. But it's purple, whereas these are pink. And this one right here is red, but it's not bloomed yet for some reason. Now where this crepe myrtle stands right here, or that one stands over there, back in the day when I was little, these crepe myrtles have been here for about like 15 years, maybe a little, not just about 15, 13 years. But prior to Hurricane Ike, so about 15 years ago, there was a big pine, there was a pine tree right here. Right here, there was a pine tree. And then right here, there was a tallow tree. Big, like this one right However, here. That tallow tree kept having issues. Gigi and Pawpaw used to have their pool right here. They don't have a pool anymore, but they used to have a pool right here. And the tallow tree had limbs that would hang over and would drop leaves into the pool. And it was just really annoying. And also these little tallow berries. I don't know if there's any right here or not. Let me see if I find one. They're usually in the fall. I mean, here's a tallow leaf right here. Let's see if I find it. We call them like tallow berries. I don't know if there's any around here. But they're like these little hard balls, and they're really painful, especially when you step on them, because in the autumn they fall out of the trees and they break open, and they're pointy as hell, and they're really uncomfortable. And so those can just be very annoying. So they chopped down the tallow tree and they planted this crepe myrtle here. The pine tree that was here, I don't remember if it was dying or if it was just interfering with this electric line right here or not. But they finally just got rid of it and planted these crepe myrtles, which is nice because these crepe myrtles are very beautiful, as you can see. So they're really good, looking really nice this year. I have some pictures, I'll have to go find them. They're on a different camera though, they're not on a phone or anything. They're on a real camera that G bought a couple of years ago, and I think it was July of 2018, so just about 6 years ago. And I guess it was a really good camera because everything was blooming out here. The crepe myrtles looked very pretty, and I took a picture and it looked really nice. Everything looked really pretty out here. But I'll have to go find that camera. So if I'm gonna download those photos somewhere, because I don't know how to do that. But yeah, so those are these for now. Those are the crepe myrtles up here. Now these are quite plentiful here in Plum Grove on Morrow Hill. These trees are called tallow trees. Now they are also more specifically called Chinese tallow trees, and that's because they are not from Texas. They are not from North America. There's another one right there by Daniel and Lou's house, and there's another one over here in their yard, and there's another one here, and there's 2 big ones over there. They're quite plentiful. They're all over Morrow Hill. They're all over the place here, and they're all over the back. They like low-lying areas that have a lot of water in them, because I guess they really like water. So they just like to be in low-lying areas where they can suck up lots of water. So that's good. But yeah, it's unknown when the tallow trees first arrived in Plum Grove, because according to Pawpaw, they were not here when he was a little kid. So they arrived in Plum Grove sometime in either, I guess, maybe the 1960s or 70s was when they really somehow got into Plum Grove. And around that time was when they started taking off here. And they just started growing, and they unfortunately sometimes can be not good. They're very almost imperialistic in a way, like they will destroy other littler trees and then make room for themselves. They don't F around, I guess you could say. So that's something that you have to keep in mind with them, is because they can sometimes be very hard to get rid of too. because they'll destroy sometimes oak trees or pine trees, the native trees that are actually from here, and they can be quite a little pain. But generally they don't cause too much issues. Like these trees right here are really big and actually quite nice. I think they look nice. They've been here my whole life. They've been here for like 50 years here in Plum Grove. As I said, since like the 60s or 70s when they first arrived in, here in Plum Grove. And so they've been part of our lives forever, or for a very long time. There's another one right there, big one. Yeah, there's 2 of them over there by Daniel's house, and there's another one over there. There's so many of them, they're everywhere here. And there's a ton of them down by Debbie's house. They're the trees that line Lester's driveway. I'm a Survivor's driveway. They're all over they're just very plentiful here, in case it's not obvious enough. But other than that, they're kind of nice trees. I kind of like them. They're very nice looking, in my opinion. This plant is called a sycamore tree. These trees are actually quite common throughout North America, especially in the eastern half of North America. They're very common. They have sunlight. They're famous for the little ball. Well, not the little balls, but they have these little things that kind of come down. They're very airy in a way. It's kind of weird. Their bark, as you can see, is known for kind of looking like it's peeling in a way, which is kind of strange to me, but I guess just the way it is. But their bark reminds me of like when you get a really bad sunburn and your skin starts to peel. Like their bark always looks like it's peeling for some reason. Daniel and Lou have 2 massive sycamore trees next to their house. As you can see, there's the tallow right here, and then this one right here is the big sycamore. These huge sycamores. And there's another one on the other side, as you can see. Yeah, there's the other one on the other side. They have the 2 big sycamores by their house. So those are the 3 sycamores. I think there's another sycamore down at Kim's. I don't know. I'll have to go check because I really don't remember if there's one down there at Kim's. I think there is. I just do not remember right here, right now at this moment. But those are the 2 or the 3 main sycamores here up on Morrow Hill. These plants right here are called the live oaks. They are very big. They grow very fast, which is why they look like trees you would expect to be probably like 50, 60, maybe 100 years old, but they're really not. They just grow really quickly. I'm just gonna ignore the dogs, they're being annoying. But they grow really quickly, and as they said, live oaks, they don't shed in the winter. They're not deciduous. They don't lose their leaves in the wintertime like you know, most deciduous trees do, or trees that look like them. Their bark looks like most other oak trees, and they're very big. These are very big, but these trees are only about like 30 years old, maybe 35 years old. They're really not that big. They're really not that old, I mean. But yeah, they just grow really fast. They look huge, but they're really not. They also block sunlight, which is another reason why there's not a lot of grass here. That's one of their downsides, is that they block sunlight. And there's some, but not quite enough. But they do block enough to where it causes the grass not to grow very well in places that are under them, especially when they have a large canopy like this one. And, you know, they're covered all year round, so it doesn't really have a lot of room to grow. It doesn't have a lot of room to, it doesn't give the grass enough room to grow because they just cover so much area and it blocks too much light in order for grass to grow properly. Now we get to the undisputed kings of East Texas, or to the southeastern United States. Loblolly pines. Loblolly pines are tall with needles, and of course they're evergreens because they're pine trees, and pine trees are evergreens. They have long, or not really too long, but they have kind of longish, you know, needles. Prick, prick, prick. They produce these pine cones like this one. That's how they spread. And of course in the springtime, you'll notice in the springtime that they'll produce these little pine cones that they grow at the end of the tips, kind of like around here. A tip will grow out, and it was kind of more of a yellowish color. That'll produce a pine cone. There's a pine cone right up here. Yeah, one still attached to the tree, fresh. Let's see if we can pull it off. You have to be careful of these things because they're very prickly. They're not comfortable to touch. I'm not even gonna bother with that. It's too stuck on there. But yeah, you can see this pine cone right here. And they fall and they shed. That's how they spread all over the place. They grow very quickly. So these trees right here in front of Daniel's house were only planted about like 15 years ago, not even 20 years ago, and look how big they are. They look already very huge. There's that one down there. There's the huge ones all through the area. And of course, I don't know if you can see it from here, but there's that really massive pine tree that's at least hundreds and hundreds of years old, way back in the middle of the field. There's another one there. And of course, they're just everywhere in the woods around this place. All through the woods of East Texas, you can find them. Oh yeah, and there's this really tall one. That's probably also hundreds of years old. That sticks up out of the trees along the tree line over there on RJ's, what was RJ's land. These little spruces, I think, is what it's on Breeze land. Those are the trees that they planted a couple of years ago, just kind of, you know, make everything look nice, I guess. But those are not loblolly pines. Loblolly pines also have deep, skinny, or cylindrical root syndrome, root things. Oh my gosh, I blank on the word. They have deep, straight, long roots that go deep in the ground, which is why during hurricanes, when hurricanes hit here in southeast Texas, they never uproot. Oak trees uproot because oak tree roots go out. Loblolly pine tree roots go down, straight down. And so that's why when we get high winds and hurricanes, they always snap. They never uproot, they always snap because their roots go down deep. Back in the day, there was a loblolly pine like right here, and it fell on Hurricane Ike. And for those who don't know, right here used to be a house that belonged to old Pepat and Pops, Gigi's parents, that moved here about 20 years ago. And during Hurricane Ike in 2008, that pine tree that was right here snapped, but it fell this way. If it fell that way, it would have hit their house and caused a lot of damage, but it didn't. It fell this way, right into Gigi's yard. But that was good because it didn't fall and hit their house. That's another interesting thing about them. They are the most common tree used for lumber here in the area. Most pine trees, I guess, they grow pretty good and pretty regularly to where they can be used quite well for the lumber industry. The guineas are down here, just feeding on some food that kind of fell out, I guess. But yeah, they're the most common tree here in East Texas. They're the most common tree. Yeah, they're the most common one and the undisputed kings of East Texas. Now we get to the state tree of Texas, the pecan tree. That's this tree right here growing up. The pecan tree, we don't have a lot of them here on Morrow Hill, honestly. We have this one. I think we have another one at Kim's, and there's another one in the middle of the field, back that way. And we don't, I don't know, we've never really harvested them. We've had a couple. We'll go out and eat the pecans that fall in what is it, the autumn, when they fall and you can actually bust them open and eat them. They're actually really good. My grandparents out in Uvalde, if you watch some of my videos, I've been out there, they have a ton of pecan trees, and they make pecan pies, they make all kinds of pecan dishes, they eat them, make pecan desserts, and they even sell them sometimes because of how much they have. They have so many pecan trees out there. all over their property, and they grow all over Texas, and they grow especially well out there with the I don't know what is the environment or what is it makes them grow really good out there, but they have plenty of water being right on the Nueces River. But they have a ton, but we don't have a ton here, but this one's nice. But yeah, this right here, of course it's only June, so they're not going to be dropping pecans. They're going to be growing right now, but definitely not dropping until like September, October, and November is when they really start to drop their pecans. But for now, there are none on the tree growing right here right now. But come a couple months from now, they will definitely start producing more and more. This tree right here is called a dogwood. This is, or it was, Pepat, Gigi's mother's favorite type of tree. They look really pretty in the springtime when they grow all white flowers. And then, you know, throughout, they last for about a month and then they lose them and then they grow their green leaves. Just flies in my face. These right here, unfortunately, we're having a little bit of a silkworm epidemic, and silkworms love to eat all of the leaves off of trees, and we don't really know how to kill them. We don't really know how to contain them. We're trying to figure that out. But yeah, we're having a little bit of a silkworm issue this year, but we're trying to figure out how to deal with it. So now we really get to see the full scale of how bad the silkworm epidemic is starting to get here, and how they really do kill the leaves on the trees. This tree right here is called a sweet gum. They're not, we don't have really too many up on the hill. That's why I had to come like way down here in order to see one. There's a lot in the back though, where you can see more of them. But this is really the only one, the closest one to the main part of the hill. As you can see, the leaves have a pointed shape. Kind of looks like marijuana. Sweet gums are also commonly known for their big, spiky balls of pain that they drop. Usually in the fall is when they drop them. They have these little balls that they use to spread their seeds, and they are round and they're covered in spikes. And if you step on them, it is not fun, which is why you always need to wear shoes, even if they're Crocs. But yeah, it's always, you need to be careful around these trees sometimes, especially you need to be looking down, or else you will. Here's one right here. These are flattened because of cars driving on them. But as you can see, this one's flat from, you know, cars and tires driving over it. But as you can see, they can be very bad from, they can be bad when they're round, when they're spiky, because my God, they do not feel good. They're not something that you want to step on. I wish I could find a better one that looked better, so you can just see entirely just how bad they really are. But these right here, this one right here, you can just get a little bit of an idea of how bad it is. But if it was fully formed and fully rounded with spikes, you would really see just how awful it is and just how painful they can be. But I think the tallow berries are honestly worse than those. I don't know what it is, but I've always had more pain stepping on tallow berries than I did on sweet gum spurs in my life. But I'm sure there's some people who have stepped on both who disagree with me. Well, all right. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Hope y'all liked my informative talk. There is other flora here on Morrow Hill. Other plants, other different types of trees, but I don't really know too much about them, or there's really not that many of them. There's only like one of each of certain types, but I talked about what I knew about the plants that I know about, and yeah, so I hope y'all like this video. I hope y'all enjoyed my little informative talk, some of the things I know about with the plants. I've always been kind of an arborist myself. I just like trees. I would not want to live in a place that's flat or doesn't have a lot of forest, which is one of the things that Southeast Texas has. Trees and forest, things that I like. But yeah, I hope that y'all like this video. Hope y'all tune in next time for another episode of the Daily Life Adventures of Ben. Thank you.